Hey guys, good morning. Today we're gonna make cinnamon rolls. All right. Now there's two different kinds of cinnamon rolls. There's a yeast cinnamon roll, which is the ones you get in the mall at those cinnamon roll places, and then there's also a quick bread cinnamon roll. So that's the cinnamon roll we're gonna do today. The quick bread cinnamon roll. It's a little quicker because it's a quick bread, and a little bit easier for you guys to follow. So I've kind of taken a couple of shortcuts just to expedite this process because I really want you to see how I knead the dough and how I roll it up and cut it. So I've already measured my dry ingredients in a container. I have 2 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, a half teaspoon of salt, okay? So this is gonna go in my stand mixer. I'm just going to mix it a little bit on slow speed. Now, you could do it in a mixing bowl by hand. I would start with a spatula, work the butter in, and then add your milk. Takes a little bit longer, but you can definitely still do it by hand. So that's my oven. It's ready. I preset my oven. So now that my dry ingredients have mixed a little bit, I have 3 tablespoons of butter. And I just want to cut this into some smaller pieces. So, just little pieces. I'm going to put right in my mixer. And I want that to mix up, okay? Because I want all little tiny pieces of butter throughout my dough. So that when it goes into the oven, it melts, creates a little pocket, and it makes our dough nice and flaky and tender, all right? So my butter is in there mixing. You can turn it up a little bit if you need to. And I have to that, I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of milk, okay? 3/4 of a cup of milk. So I just kind of want to show you guys, right? I've got like little tiny pieces of butter all throughout my flour mixture. And that's what we want. So again, with my mixer running on low, I'm going to add my milk. And I want to mix that until it comes together. And if your dough is super sticky, okay, you can add a little bit more flour. It's okay. Like about a tablespoon at a time. So my dough looks a little bit sticky. I'm going to add an extra tablespoon of flour. Just because I want it to all come together. Maybe 2. There we go. Now I don't have to worry about over mixing this because we're going to let this dough rest for a little bit, right? I know we talk about over mixing when we're making muffins and things like that, but we want some gluten formation in our cinnamon rolls so that we can stretch it out and it keeps its shape, almost like if we were making bread. You don't have to knead it as long as you would bread, but you want to let it go a little bit so you have some structure. You can see my dough it's come together. And it's going to be one cohesive mixture. So I'm going to tilt you guys down so you can see my hands. There we go. I've got a cool little new computer stand I'm trying out today. Okay, I'm going to take my dough out, and you can see it's a little bit sticky, right? It's sticking to my hands a little bit. Okay, right? That's what we want. We want it to be a little sticky. We don't want it to be super, super dry. Okay? I get all my dough off here. And then I've got my bowl scraper. I'm just going to go into my bowl and get the rest of my dough. Put it all together in one pile. Right? Then I'm going to put a little bit of flour on my board. Okay, this is just a plastic mat I put over my stove just to kind of protect the stove. So what I want to do now is I want to knead the dough. You guys can see. Knead the dough, right? So I got a little flour down, I got a little flour in my hands. I'm going to pull the top of the dough up and over and this out of the way. Up and over, and then press down with the palm of my hand. Then I'm going to turn. Up, over, press down with the palm of my hand. I keep repeating this motion, maybe about 20 or 30 times. Okay? That would be 4, 5, 6. Okay? Just keep going. 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, up, over, down. Up, over, down. If it starts to stick to your board a little bit, add just a little bit more flour. Don't add too much flour, just a little bit. All right? Up, over, down. Up, over, down. Up, over, down. All right? Just like that. And you can start to feel the dough get a little bit firmer and a little bit smoother as you're kneading it. And once you can feel that everything is smooth and has come together, then you know you're done. So that's about 30 times, right? We talk about kneading the dough, we talk about either in time, in minutes, or in turns. So that's about 30 turns, right? So I'm turning up, over, down. Turning up, over, down, right? You can see, right? It's still a little tiny bit sticky, but that's what we want. A little smooth, everything has come together, right? Just kind of bring it all together as one ball, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bowl, okay, that I mixed my dough in. I'm going to put a tiny bit of flour in the bottom, just to kind of coat it. I'm going to drop my dough in here. And then I'm going to cover it with a clean kitchen towel or plastic wrap, or you can even put a plate on top, just like this, right? Then I want to let this sit in my kitchen somewhere where it's warm, not hot, but just room temperature warm for about an hour, right? For about an hour. So I've already made one so that I can keep going here. I've already made it dough, and you can see it's been sitting. Now it's a little bit softer, okay? And that's what we want. We want it to be a little bit softer so that we're able to roll out the dough, okay? So I've got a little bit of more flour down. Okay, make sure I don't have any dough pieces here. So I've got my flour. And I'm going to pop out my dough. Okay. So in addition to our dough, this recipe has 3 different components. We have our dough, right? We have our filling, and we have our glaze. So I keep filling to finish my cinnamon roll. So that recipe is 4 tablespoons butter melted, 1 cup brown sugar, 8 teaspoons of cinnamon, right? So remember, right, when we measure our brown sugar, and I just have, a little light brown sugar, okay? When we measure our brown sugar, we want to make sure we pack it in so that when it comes out, we have that shape, okay? So I have a cup of brown sugar. I know it seems like a lot, but this makes quite a few cinnamon rolls. A cup of brown sugar. I have 3 teaspoons of cinnamon. 1, 2, 3. And then my melted butter. And then we're going to mix this. Just a spatula. You can use your hands if you want, but the butter's warm, so be careful. All right. So we're going to mix this all up together. So it all comes together. Okay. All right. So I already did one of these too, so I'm going to switch over just to save us a little bit of time. Okay. Right. So I have my cinnamon sugar mixture. So now I have my dough. All right. I've got a little bit of flour down. I've got my rolling pin. Okay. I'm going to start to roll out this stuff. Now I want to try to get it to be a rectangular shape. I'm not looking for a round shape. I want a rectangular shape. So if I kind of pull this way, start stretching it. Could you do it with your hands? Yeah, you could, absolutely. Put a little flour on if it starts to stick, okay? You kind of pull this and stretch this. Now, the longer you let this dough sit, that's why we need to let it sit for an hour. Because if you start to roll this right away, what happens is, you've built up all that gluten in there. Remember chewing the gum. And it won't let you roll the dough out. It'll just keep coming back on you. Okay. So I'm just kind of using like the edges of my roll, my pastry roller. Okay. Let's bring this out. All right. Again, bring this out. And I want to make sure that it's nice and even all the way around. Nice and even all the way around. So what do I mean by that? I mean the thickness, okay? I don't want it to be thick on one side and then thin on the other side. I want it to be nice and even all the way around. And listen, if it tears, it's okay. Get back together, no problem. So we're going to stretch this out. And again, if it's thick, a little bit of flour. So again, my rolling pin, okay? A little hard to roll on my stove because of the lid, but we'll get there. Okay, so now I've kind of got that rectangular shape that I'm looking for. All right, just a little bit more this way. Oh, stay there. And a little bit more this way. Okay. All right. So now, next step, I'm going to grab my cinnamon sugar mixture. Okay. And I'm going to just kind of sprinkle this all over the top. Let me get all of that out. Just kind of spread it out as evenly as possible. Okay? All the way to the edge, all the way to this edge, all the way to this edge. And then we're going to grab our rolling pin one more time, and we're going to just press the cinnamon sugar mixture into our dough. Okay? Just like that. I don't know about you guys, but I love anything cinnamon. Anything cinnamon, that's one of my downfalls. Okay. Now this is the important part, right? When we start to roll this dough, so we want to start on this long edge, and then we just kind of want to start on one side, just kind of turn and kind of pinch it so that it sticks to itself. Just kind of flip up and pinch, flip up and pinch, flip up and pinch. Keep going, right? So now I've got to start. Now I can kind of just start to push this with my fingertips, gently, right? We don't want to be too firm with this dough. It's a delicate dough. Just kind of start to roll this up. Just keep pushing, making sure your ends are tucked in, all right? Just keep going, making like a nice, long, cylindrical roll. We don't want it to be fat in the middle. We want it to be even all the way down. We don't want it to look like a snake that swallowed a watermelon, okay? All the way up, all the way up. Now I want to keep that seam on the bottom, so I'm going to bring this back towards me a little bit. And then I'm going to make sure that I'm nice and even all the way down, okay? A little bit. So now I have my nice cinnamon block, right? It's almost the same shape as my rolling pin. Look at that, right? Nice and even all the way down. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get ready to go in the oven. So you could use, a pan like this, okay? Make sure you spray it really well. You can touch each other in the pan and then pop them in the oven. I like to use a sheet tray because I can fit more on this, and I only have to use one pan, and I only have to clean one pan. So I'm going to spray my pan. All right, good amount of spray. And then I have my cinnamon roll. You guys can see that. Let me move this over here. Move this over there. I got my bowl scraper. Okay, you can certainly use a knife. And what you want to do is you want to cut these about 1 inch. Okay, about 1 inch. That's usually like the length of my top of my thumb, about 1 inch. So I know they don't have to be exactly perfect, but 1 inch. Okay, and then you're going to cut straight down 1 inch, approximately 1 inch. You could use a knife. I like to use this because I don't want to cut my nice white board. Okay, it's plastic. So I'm going to go all the way down. Okay. So now I'm going to put them in the oven. What I want to do is I want these to be face up. So the cinnamon side needs to be up. Okay. And I sprayed my board. Let me make sure that my spray is on there good. Okay. Cinnamon side up. Now again, they could touch. Okay. I like them to be golden brown all the way around. I got the dough be completely cooked. So I kind of space them out a little bit. Okay. Just space them out a little bit. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I better invite some friends over. 10, 11, 12, 13, and then this end. Make sure that you don't put this side up. You want to put that cinnamon side up. Okay. And just make sure that they're all about the same height. If some are a little bigger than the other, just squash them down a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to pop these in the oven. My oven's already preheated. And they're going to go for about 15 minutes. Let me pop this in. About 15 minutes. Okay, let me set my timer. Now, when they come out, we're going to put a glaze on there. Now, I didn't show you the glaze the last time. I'm going to show it to you this time real quick. So I have 1 cup of powdered sugar or confectionery sugar, right? I'm going to pop that in a bowl. Now, this is the same glaze that I made the other day for the donuts. And to this, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of milk. 1, 2, okay, 2 tablespoons of milk. And then I want to whisk this really well. And again, if it's too thick, I can add a little bit more milk. Now this glaze, we kind of want it to be a little bit on the thicker side, okay? So that it coats our warm cinnamon buns when they come out. Again, right, I'm going to add just a drop more milk. I think it's just a little too thick. Again, if you want to, you could use orange juice and do an orange cinnamon bun. You know, chocolate and cinnamon goes well together. You can put a little bit of cocoa powder in here if you really wanted to, or use chocolate milk or a little bit of Hershey syrup, right? Make a chocolate glaze. But there we go, nice, and we've got a nice kind of thick glaze. Then you could do a cream cheese frosting, which we'll do eventually when we make a cinnamon yeast dough. But for this one, we're gonna just stick with the normal glaze. So let me pop you guys back up here. Boom. My cinnamon buns are baking. All right. When we come back, I'll show you guys how to finish them, and I'll see you in a bit. All right. Bye, guys.